They improvised. Then the next stage we gave them some text to learn. Then we started to group them, didn't we? Then we brought like Luke in and you started to work with them. And it was just a slow process, getting to know them. And then the other important thing we did was we let them help write the script. We let them tweak the dialogue. We let them choose their costumes, because in South London, a lot of the costume is very codified. I'm sure it's the same here. It's like out of the movie Colours. If you wear a particular bandana, so the costume designer, who is a brilliant woman, she tried to give them the wrong colour bandanas. and the kids were like, no. Like, we're going to provoke some mass turf war in South London if we wear that colour bandana. So yeah, they were very involved. And it just made it a joy to show up every day, because I'm a first-time director. If some of you probably know, if you're a first-time director, you're surrounded by people who make 3 or 4 films a year. You're the least experienced guy in the room. They're waiting for you to fuck up so they can undermine your authority. That sounds too cruel. They're not like that. You know what I mean? So to arrive at work and have 8 kids who are as fresh to it as me and as enthusiastic kind of made it a joy.
Well, you talk about also that it's a first-time director of photography, and the film has such a confident sense of style from the very beginning. Whether it's the way you shot the monsters, from the way you introduced them, or whether it's just the big action beats and the hero beats. Like, you guys together, I think, created something that really is visually arresting from beginning to end, and you make this location, which I've certainly seen in English dramas look, like a blown-out war zone. You make it super heroic on film.
Cool. Well, man, this is the first time this is played to the public, so, I should say I really appreciate the fact that you guys enjoyed it. And again, anyone else out there who makes their first film, I saw this guy's work on a commercial. I was watching TV. We knew we needed someone who could shoot night. We wanted that kind of high contrast look that Carpenter got in The Thing, where the shadows are deep, deep black. The brights are there's super contrast basically, and to keep it legible, because often at night things go grainy, and also with all the different skin tones, we needed the skin to be legible. And I saw this guy's commercial, and it did all those things. And then I went and met everybody who I was supposed to hire. All the professional ones, and nobody really did it. Everyone was kind of grainy and shaky cam, and we wanted to avoid shaky cam. We wanted to compose shots. We wanted to go old school.
Yeah, that's the thing. The geography in this, the way the action is laid out, there's not a beat in it where you don't know where everybody is unless you mean us not to know where everybody is. It's really well shot.
Thank you.
And bringing the monsters to life. You worked with, it looks like double negative and spectral motion.
Well, I met a guy when Edgar and I were working on Tintin. We met a guy called Terry Notary, who was the movement coach for Nick and Simon, and he was the Viper Wolves in Avatar. He was the movement coach for Lou Leterrier's Hulk. He did the Silver Surfer. He was Superman's movement coach, and he's the best quadruped runner in the world. Okay. And he's fucking amazing. So, we tortured him every day, and so he came in very early. He designed the suit with spectral motion, who you guys probably know, do all Guillermo del Toro's creatures here in Los Angeles. Yeah, then it was basically a rotoscope technique, because we couldn't afford CGI monsters, so I was inspired by the wolf at the beginning of 300 that the boy kills? Do you guys remember that? And also Ralph Bashki's Lord of the Rings, where he does the Dark Riders and he uses a rotoscope technique. So we figured, get a guy in a suit, shoot it, and then rub out the reflections. So I thought of it like a graphic novel, as if it was just a 2-dimensional, shadow puppet like that. And I figured that the more you saw it move, the more you'd be able to tell its 3-dimensional shape. But man, we were taking a bet on that, because audiences are so used to this hyper-real CGI stuff. And I really didn't know whether I'd get laughed out of the house for this kind of Henson age.
Well, I think what's amazing about it is I can't tell you what's digital and what's physical in the movie, and I think that's a real testament to how well they mesh in the film. They simply hold the space. They are real creatures, and they're terrifying.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So, Luke, in terms of you working with this young cast, what was the energy like from them? And from like you and Jody, who have both done a number of films, and then to have this cast that you're kind of meshing with, what was that energy on set?
Amazing. You went in every day and you felt like you were there kind of seeing it through their eyes for the first time, and they just brought so much energy to it, and there was no one was jaded sitting there kind of saying, well, how long is it going to be till we're set up here? They were all they had amazing energy, and it was a joy. It was like being on set for the first time again, and it was a pleasure. They're great to work with.
Edgar, you talk about as an executive producer, you're helping to sort of shepherd things through, just laying the groundwork for that. What when you look at the final film, is that everything that when Joe originally described it to you that you imagined it would be, or is it even more?
I think it's even more. I mean, we'd already been, I don't know how many years before like you actually started doing it, you've been talking about it, probably like at least 5 years and more. But it's funny because I kind of feel like I made 2 debut movies, because I made one when I was 20, and Shaun of the Dead isn't my first film. I made one when I was 20, which I curiously leave off my resume. So I feel like I had 2 stabs at a debut film and had problems, with both, as everybody does, with trial and error. So I kind of felt as Joe's, not just as executive producer, but as Joe's friend, just to kind of like try and make him aware of all of the pitfalls, because everybody goes through something, and it's a tricky first film to do a first film that's like all night shoots, in quite a rough area of London, like on location. That's pretty tough. With child actors at night, it's like it's really ballsy. And so I was like impressed by the ambition of it, and I think just in the early stages, and I guess even through the post as well, just tried to kind of help Joe in terms of having done it like before, I must though call out, I'm only the executive producer, but 2 of the producers who are far too shy to come on the stage are in the house, so I think they should get a round of applause. Jim Wilson and Myra Park. And Jim Wilson and Myra Park, and me and Joe have known for years, but they're also the 2 people, responsible for the, getting Shaun of the Dead off the ground as well, so thank you.
Let's go ahead and throw it out to you guys for a few. Yes, right here in front.
So one thing, I really thank you for having kind of a movie that brought me back to the Critters days. It really felt like that, spine backs and all that, and it's really effective, really great. But one of the things I think that was kind of had to have been intentional is the music itself could have been very orchestral, more dramatic, right? But you kind of chose gritty R&B or dubstep stuff that you're using. So you kind of describe a little bit what musically how you're
well, we studied John Carpenter a lot, and we figured, I had this kind of realization that he never uses a snare. It's always a bass drum, and other movies with needle drops all the way through them, for me, people end up cutting to the track. And in the old days, you would cut the fucking film, then you would score it. Now they score the film, then they cut it. So it makes a lot of shit look like a pop video to me, and for me that pops me out of the action. Like old school soundtracks are elastic. The rhythm bends and shapes. Like if you watch the truck chase in Raiders, the tempo keeps shifting, and you can't, and if a beat sits on a 4/4, it kind of makes the whole sequence slave to the rhythm, to quote the brilliant filmmaker Grace Jones. But you know what I mean? So that's the first realization we had. And then I just wanted to, I've never heard an orchestral adventure movie beats on a British movie. And I would watch my favorite American movies, and I would think, man, I want to feel that. I want kids like that to feel that excitement about where they live.
Have you screened it at all for young audiences?
No.
Have you done any tests?
No.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear how they react when they finally see it.
I think next Wednesday, we're showing it in Wandsworth. Anyone want to come?
Yes.
Yeah, the movie fucking rocked.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I talked a bit about the creatures, but where did you guys start with the design? Like, how did you get the idea to design like that? Because I've never seen an alien that looked like that before.
Well, here's a secret. For my whole life, when I was a child, I had a black cat. And I used to watch the cat, and people used to send my mum and dad, if you have a cat, people send you cat shit the whole time. Not actual cat shit. People send you cards. You get that with cards with cats on? And they'd always send these beautiful silhouetted illustrations, like a silhouette of a black cat. My whole life is a really beautiful thing, like if it's sitting on the kitchen table and the sun's coming through, and it's like I said, it's like a 2-dimensional shape. You can only read its 3-dimensionality when that 2-dimensional shape moves, like a shadow puppet. So that was it. It was the fucking cat. Which isn't so scary, is it? But that's where it came from. We had that idea very early on, and we tested it, and then we stuck with it.
Yes, down here.
From an academic perspective, this movie kicked fucking ass.
Thank you.
But
What are your qualifications?
I can't divulge that.
Okay, sure.
But also, I noticed that you and Edgar are also working on another script that you've been working on for a long time for Ant-Man. What's the status on that thing?
We're currently working, right?
Not right now.
Not right now. But the day after tomorrow, we will go back to Los Angeles. Do you want to talk about that again?
Well, we kind of have a stopped response now because it's true to say that we've been writing it in some form. Weirdly, the treatment for Ant-Man exists before Marvel Studios. There was a treatment that me and Joe did when Artisan had some of the kind of the lower rung kind of Marvel kind of properties, and we wrote a treatment for it that exists before Hot Fuzz. And basically, when I met Kevin Feige, I said, "Oh, did you ever get our treatment?" And he'd never read it. So then we submitted it properly 4 years later. So it's something that me and Joe have genuinely been working on for nearly a decade, and at some point we'll finish the script.
You know what? I say again, the cool thing is not to know anything. So we ain't gonna tell you nothing.
Well, I think everybody now is even more excited for that when you guys are done and ready, because it really feels like just a great blend of a number of different things that I haven't seen put together this way before, and the kids are just phenomenal, like they really are.
Can I ask you guys something?
No.
Oh. People, American distributors are nervous about the language, the slang.
No.
Now, there was a story in the Hollywood Reporter, it was like, attack the block, South by Southwest, but the language, it's a good movie, are people going to get it? My gut feeling is maybe they underestimate you guys.
Yes.
My feeling is with 20 years of hip-hop culture, with The Wire, with Matt, Did you find it difficult? Did you find it...
Not at all.
You've seen it, you're cool. Well, tell your local distributor.
Yeah.
That's the case.
I think we got time for a couple more. Let's see. Anybody towards the back?
I will.
Okay.
For Luke Treadaway, how did you get into the character of Brewis?
How do I get into the character of Brewis? Listening to great music that Joe put me onto, and just bopping around the block. I know people who are like Brewis, who sort of go around London thinking they're pretty street, but actually they live in Chiswick, which is a posh part of London. And so I've met people like Brewis before. Maybe I am a bit like Brewis, I don't know. But just sort of like that, really.
Well, listen, you guys know how this works at a film festival as well as I do. Carry the word. Go tell people what you saw tonight so they'll come tomorrow night or they'll come to the later screening in the week. And I want to thank Joe Cornish for being here and bringing it. Thank you so much.